Well, I'd like to mention a little bit about polyamory again. Now, there was a reference to it in the Evening Boris, otherwise known as the Evening Standard, formerly known as the Evening Black Shirt, as it used to be owned by the Daily Mail, the Rothermeres, or whatever they call themselves. Anyway, yeah, polyamory. So it's actually become mainstream now, or mainstream it has, and it's a sort of one of these giggle articles in Londoners' Diary and so on. Hardly worth reading. But the word just come to me as I was flicking through the paper. Now, I've talked about polyamory before. Is it got anything to do with anarchism? I say no, it's got absolutely nothing to do with anarchism at all, even if people that call themselves anarchists practice it. It doesn't make it an anarchist practice, does it? And in fact, I would say that it's probably the exact opposite of anarchist, for the simple reason that anarchists, we don't want to make people all the same. We don't want to make them all gay. We don't want to make them all polyamorous. We don't want to make everybody bisexual. We realise that sexuality is a completely diverse thing with all different sorts of sexuality, and monogamy is one of the sort of main sort of relationship things that we have in the world, whether we like it or not. We're not trying to ban monogamy or anything like that. We want people to be happy in their relationships. We want people to develop within their relationships. We want relationships to be sort of non-oppressive and so on. But we also realise, of course, that people have got desires, and many people fantasise about having another partner, even if it's just a bit on the side, as they say. And well, frankly, most people do at one point in their life, no matter what their age and so on. It's just in the same way a lot of straight men actually have a lot of gay experiences. It's just another side even their wives don't know. So polyamory is just another form of sexual arrangement rather than sexuality. And what I find oppressive about it, well, there are a lot of things I find oppressive about it, because it's just out of a textbook, isn't it? It's not like realistic. I think that many of us, in one form or another, have lived what could be called a polyamorous relationship, or had two or maybe three partners and so on. And but quite accepted, very, very few people would raise an eyebrow at that one. But what I raise an eyebrow about is the fact that these polyamorous relationships, they're conscious things, they're consciously called polyamory. And the people that are practitioners of polyamory, for example, you have to introduce the two partners to each other, and as if you can get a 50% balance each way. And obviously, someone there is manipulating the other two, isn't it? I thought it was just a thing of sort of creepy, slimy, bearded middle-class men with whining voices and so on, manipulating sort of nubile young females and stuff like that. But it's not. I mean, I am prepared to admit there are a lot of women in these relationships that can have two men, if that's what you want to call them, and can manipulate them just the same way as one man can manipulate two women. It's a really great thing if you're into manipulating people and so on. A consciously polyamorous thing, where they're organised in groups on the internet. They discuss it all the time. They have conferences and so on. What that's got to do with anarchism and what that's got to do with free sexuality is completely beyond my comprehension. And another thing as well, these people I've met that practice polyamory, why do they always practice it? Why can't they actually just do it? I've never been able to understand what a practicing homosexual is. Man is is it somebody hasn't got it right? So these polyamorouses, they haven't got it right, have they? Because one of the other things about polyamory is that you've got to repress your emotions. You're not allowed to be jealous. And this is why it's flawed as well, because to attempt to suppress your emotions can only have one disastrous result: fascism, totalitarianism, and extreme abuse of human beings. Reich, Freud, those guys with beards that wrote stuff like 100 years ago about sexuality. They were right in that if you do repress sexuality, it really comes out in another way. And it's the same with emotions. If you repress your emotions, it doesn't make them go away. It just sends them somewhere meaner and darker and more dangerous and so forth. So if you've got three people in a relationship and one or two of them is showing sort of jealousy towards the other one, that is not really my idea of a good relationship. It's got nothing to do with emotional honesty or anything like that. It's just a load of crap. It's a load of middle class people, and they are all middle class, most of them, probably quite young people. I've never heard of people of my age doing it, or old age pensioners, or people that are like not part of this sort of social elite and so on. It's mostly, or used to be, mostly sort of people that were vaguely called themselves anarchists, lived in squats and so on. But it's all a pose. It's all a joke. We don't need any of them. Away with these manipulators, these elitists, because that's what they are. A load of sexists dressed up as anti-sexists. They're anti-people, really. Polyamory would be absolutely worthless if the whole population decided to be polyamorous. In fact, they'd probably become monogamous because they don't want to be like the vulgar herd and the vulgar crowd. As for emotions and so forth, jealousy is not a good thing. And all the other sort of sexual jealousies and emotions that come from relationships that are a negative thing are not good. But rather than repress these things, you've got to learn to deal with them, just in the same way as every other human being has got to learn to deal with their negative sides and so on. You don't just do it by yourself. Do it, talk about it with your friends and your partner and so on. We're the people, we're the people that will solve all these things about sexuality. In fact, it is the people that have made, not governments, but the people ourselves that have made multi-racial relationships completely normal. Even gay relationships are hardly anybody shrugs at them and so forth. Loads of other kinds of relationships as well. And yes, with polyamory thrown in as well, but just as the fag butt of it all, I think. That's all it's worth, just a fag butt out of a whole packet. It's not worth anything more than that. So people that call themselves polyamorous are just fucking idiots as far as I'm concerned. They're elitists, they're idiots, it's got nothing to do with anarchism. They probably all really do suffer from sexual jealousy and so on. The ones that I've met, well, between you and me, folks, I've found most of them really sort of sexually undesirable, as no doubt they will find an old man like me undesirable, thankfully. And if I was a strapping, handsome young lad or a nice-looking female or anybody their age, I would steer very clear of them indeed. Because you probably will anyway, because they won't want you around unless you are one of them, a particular type of overeducated, middle-class person with no experience in life, but plenty of experience in getting what they want and plenty of experience in manipulating other people and even each other. Well, they have to manipulate each other, don't they, because they won't go with anybody else. So polyamory, is it anarchist? Does it have any kind of liberating features for the future and so on? Could humanity gain from a closer understanding and study of it? I think not. So that's polyamory. There you are, the polyamorous rules and regulations, and into the bin with them. Bye.